Hey everyone, welcome to the next webinar. We are so excited to be doing these during the day. We are going to be doing the next 4 weeks at noon on Thursday, which is really fun. The topics have been sent to you on your newsletter. Just hop in and register. You'll get your email link and you can hop right on to the webinar. If you're watching this on playback, that's fine too. Live is always better because you get to interact and ask questions after we stop the recording. The playback is another great way you can watch it too. So today, actually, I have the pleasure of having Miss Amy Hintzman with me. Did I say it right?
Hi, everyone.
I was like, there's like been 4 different ways that we've been pronouncing Amy's last name. Tell me how to say your name. But I got to know Amy when I very first started with the company. It was actually my first week. I went to one of her events in Boston. Actually, it was out in Salem. And it was amazing. But I'd already heard a lot about Amy at this point because the staff at the home office has shared with me Amy's amazing success. Amy signed on with us in March of 2017. So she's been here for a couple of years. So she knows what she's doing.
I'm an OG, ladies.
Amy holds or places about 100 people a month in seats. Last month, she was #1 in the number of events held and #1 in the amount of seats that she filled. So it's pretty appropriate that she's going to be on today as our expert helping me deliver the content. The content that you're about to see is content that I've developed over the course of the last 20 years. And just to give you a little information about me, I've held over 800 events too. So one of the fun things is that at Alice's table, being able to come in on board and see what everybody in the field is doing for excitement and to get things, going, getting the butts in the seats, as they like to say. We've always called it number of attendees at events, but butts in seats is good too.
Yeah.
So Amy and I are going to get started. Just be ready. Get your pen out. Take notes because it's going to be really fun to listen to what we are sharing today. So there are basically 5 steps to success when it comes to filling the seats. One is you want to choose your type of event. We're going to talk a lot today about filling the venue. Amy's an expert on that. We're also going to talk about goal setting. The reason that goal setting is so important when you are talking about getting people in the seats is if you don't know where you're going, it's really hard to determine if you are doing the right thing in order to make your success happen. And it might be 1 event a month with 20 people, or it might be 20 events a month with 40 people. The goal doesn't matter. It matters if you have a goal and you know that you're working for it. Of course, marketing your event, we're going to spend a lot of time there. How do you get people to show up, right? How do you get people to come to your event? Amy's going to share some of her best tips. Also, you need to know what to say when you are at an event. You see, most of my events that I ever booked came off of another event, and that's just the way that it works, right? There's a reason that we are going to be so specific about what we want you to say at an event. And then the last thing is, are you following up and are you closing? So let's get started. All right, Amy, so we're going to talk about choosing your event type. You want to talk a little bit about your public events, Amy, and how you choose your public event venues?
Yeah, so when I am choosing a public event, one of my best tips that I use is check out if you have something in your town or in your, community that's like a best of list, or like we have Best of Boston, we have Best of the North Shore, and I go on there and see who the winners are and who people are voting for, because I know those are the places that people are going to see and get excited about, and they are going to want to come to that event. So it's going to be a whole lot easier to sell that ticket than it is to, some restaurant that's struggling, that is trying to get people in.
Absolutely. And how about private events? How do you decide who you're going to engage with when it comes to private events?
Right. So private events, I do a lot of corporate events, which can be really great. And I also do, in-home private events. A lot of my private events come from customers and guests that have been to one of my public events. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you're talking about that at your public event, the fact that we host these private events and that we host corporate events, and then follow up with those people after your public event to book those events with them.
Absolutely. So, it's important to have both type of events. Let me go back there a little bit. Sorry if I made you dizzy, but it is important to have both type of events. Public events are where you're going to build outside of your network, right? where the venue's marketing for you, where you're doing all kinds of different things. To Amy's point, she's going to get some private events from her public events, but you want a good balance of both. I had a private event at my home the other night, and it was great, and I loved it. But I've also attended public events. I'm actually going to one tonight, and I love those as well because I kind of feel like I'm getting out of the house and I'm doing something fun. But it's really fun for you to know that, hey, you can have both in your business, and they're going to build on each other.
Oh, you know what, Mary?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say another private event that I do a lot is weddings. And
Okay.
all of my weddings, all of my brides have come from either a public event or a private event.
Great. And actually, Ellen just went in and recorded the wedding training. So we have a recorded wedding training that you can go in and listen to. And it's Ellen. Right before she left, she recorded a wedding training for us. So super amazing. All right. So let's talk about goal setting. I know sometimes this seems really abstract. You're like, well, I just want to fill all the seats. I want to have 20 people there. But how many events do you want to do every month? How many how many tickets do you want to sell? Here's something else to think about. How many people do you want to mentor every month? And the reason that I bring this up now is because what you say at your events is going to determine the goal. You see, we focus on income earning in two different ways. Yes, you can look at how much you're selling at each event. And if you're making $20, $25 a person, that's about average. And that's actually a little more than average for our channel. However, where you're going to get that big exponential income is through mentoring. So I used to set goals for all of these things before my month started. Also, how many future events do you want to book from your events? I set a goal of booking 2 future events from every single event I held. If you know that, like right now, Mary, I have no events. I don't have any events to book events from. That's still something you need to know is how many events do you want to hold? How many tickets do you want to, what's your goal to sell at those events? Also, how are you going to extend your brand, right? Amy, do you have any fans?
Oh, yes. I have groupies. I love my groupies. And then, some fans and some groupies become execs. So it's a great way to meet people that you can mentor that are invested and absolutely love this business and love what we do. Mm-hmm. And it's good to give them a little special attention too. So if you see, repeat customers coming back to your events, make sure you are going over there and saying hi and appreciating that they come back and be like, oh my goodness, it's so great to see you again. Give them a hug, make them feel special that they are giving you that repeat business.
Absolutely. There's a reason that I fly Delta, right? Loyalty programs, feeling like they know me, knowing that when I go and I book my ticket, they're going to know that I want a window seat. And that's how you're making your customers feel. Like they're going to come in, they're going to know. I mean, if I worked with you, Amy, you would know I don't like white flowers. I know it sounds crazy, but I don't like white flowers. And all of my friends know I don't like white flowers. So those are the things. Make sure you're paying attention when you're building your brand and extending your network, because people like to know that you know them. And it's the number one key to marketing is feeling that connection with what we're doing. So as you're building your goals, build a goal to also connect with the customers that are in front of you or your friends, the people who maybe you're just getting started. Maybe you haven't booked an event in forever and you're thinking, all right, I'm going to get started. So we're going to pick up the phone and we're going to get started.
And Mary, I'd like to say something too about booking future events. It is great if you can book a series of events with a venue. Mm-hmm. So when you're booking those events, maybe they want to test the waters and give you that first event. Follow up right away after you host that first event with them and say, hey, you know what, why don't we set up a series of events so that we can do something for this holiday and that holiday and that holiday. And it's a great way to have events on your calendar already. Absolutely. You don't have to worry about.
If I owned the coolest place in town, I will tell you right now, I would want an Alice's Table event once a month at that coolest place in town, because right. It's a way for people to gather. It adds an experience dimension that you can't always get with just food, beverage, and a cool, a really cool place. So it really does add something to the venue. So great point. Awesome. So now let's talk about marketing your event. I think this is like, we use the word market, but this is the heavy lifting part. This is the part where you got to dig in. Amy, when you first got started with your business, how did you market your events?
So first starting my business, guys, I hit the pavement. I actually went door to door to restaurants. And, maybe I brought a little sample arrangement with me. I definitely had all my business cards. And even though the manager couldn't meet with me at that time, I'd say, hey, you know what? My name's Amy. I have this great business where I host flower arranging events. I'd love to talk to you. Let's set up a time right now that's going to be convenient for you. So I really put that, footwork in the beginning to get those accounts. But it was really important to find the accounts that were going to view this as a partnership rather than you coming in and hosting something in their space. Yeah. You really need that to be able to get those butts in the seats. You want to have someone that's going to do outreach on social media, that's going to send out an email blast or be willing to have something on their host stand with a flyer so that their customers can see it.
Right. Yeah, and those are, I think, some of the biggest components. I can understand, like, many times when you walk into a venue and you're kind of like, hey, this is what I'm going to bring to you. I'm going to bring people to you on a Tuesday night when it's dead. And when Alice and I were reviewing the content for this training, one of the things that she shared with me, which I think is so dynamic, and I know, Amy, you worked really close with Alice starting the business, but one of the things that Alice shared is that she didn't pick the venues that were dead. She didn't pick the venues that didn't have anything going on. She picked the hot venues. She picked the places that were happening, the places that had that buzz, places that people wanted to go to. She also did something for the public venues, which I think is just brilliant. Let's say the bartender was super cool. And guys, I will share with you that I am a groupie when it comes to my favorite bartenders, right? They treat me right. They know who I am. Well, guess what? They also have social media following now, right? They might be, they've got one guy that I love. His name is Paul. And Paul has this entire group of people that follow him on social media. So if Paul gives a shout out, hey, on Thursday night, Amy's going to be here at our venue doing this on his social media. So it's not necessarily just about the venue, but about the employees of the venue, the people who are the super cool people that are the reason why other people are coming there. Because let's face it, you can have the most beautiful place in town, the most dynamic venue full of character, but if your staff are jerks, nobody's going to come there. So the staff is what makes the venue. And Amy, I actually experienced that at your event up in Salem. The staff was just amazing. They were so incredibly dynamic and engaged, and I think that made people want to be there even more.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, so then let's talk about, and I did at the bottom there mention partnering with the venue. You want the venue to know that there are things they have to do. And actually, ironically, when I set up my private event, I don't know if you guys realize it, I didn't, but in the private event contract, it says I have to have 10 tickets sold. Let me say that fast 3 times. 10 tickets sold. And I was like, oh, and if I don't, and I was a $75 event, then that $750, I'm like, whoa, am I accountable for that? So it's something to be aware of with your private events. Let them know we require for there to be at least 10 people there. Can you get 10 people to this venue? Or can you get 10 people to this private event, no matter if it's a private corporate event or a private event in the home? So we want to set a goal with your private event people so that they get it, and your public, but we just don't want them to think that 2 or 3 people is okay, because it's not. We want you to make money, and 10 or more is really that sweet spot, because that's where you're like, okay, now I feel like I'm making that 200 plus, and you really get that feeling of let's get other people to do this as well. When you're doing private events, you got to pick up the phone, right? I spent about 45 minutes getting butts in the seat for my event, texting, personally calling, looking at the registration list, which, by the way, I as a host would not have any view to. I had to reach out to the exec, Ann, who was doing my event, and go, hey, who's registered? Now, as a corporate gal, I could go in and look, but I wanted Ann to do that part because I wanted Ann to engage with me. So I had to figure out, I had 15 people who said they were going to register. There were 13 that did, but the last 4, I had to push on the last couple of days. Girl, I need you to register. We need to order the flowers. Are you coming? Yeah, I'm coming. I'll register. I need you to do it today. And that's, that just is what it is.
Yeah, you have to have good communication with your hosts.
Mhm.
So whether it is a public event or a private event, I follow up with my hosts at least once a week. And I let them know where we are with ticket sales. I give them tips on what we could do to help sell more tickets, how to better promote an event, things like that, so that it's not you're just getting in touch with them the day before your event and you're like, oh, hey, by the way, we need you to sell 3 more tickets to be able to make this happen. So you need to have that communication.
Right. Something you can do to that point for your host for private events or even for public events, more for private, is you can ask them for the list of people that they're going to invite. And I know that seems like, oh, hold on a second. Yeah, so I used to do this for my events. I would actually ask for the list of people that they would want to invite. I would share with them that 1 in 3 people were going to come. That's just the way that the numbers work. Someone's going to have a soccer game. Someone's going to be out of town. Someone's just going to poo-poo out and want to sit on the couch and watch Netflix all night. It's the reality of the way the business works. So I would share with them that I would actually make the reminder calls and do the invitation text for them. And what that did was it allowed them as a host to then just support me. And I'd be like, hey, I'm Mary. I'm just calling for Lisa just to make sure you got the invite. Boom. Text them the invite. Go ahead and get registered. We can't wait to see you. And by the way, here's a picture of the arrangement that we're making. What that does is it allows you to market directly to the people that are attending the private event, takes it out of it. It takes you no time. It takes you less time than it does sitting around and worrying about why there aren't any people there. And it also prohibits her from calling 40 people who are best friends, and she's going to be on the phone with them forever. They don't want to talk to you. It's going to be a lot faster for you than it is for her, and it's a way that you can get butts in the seat with intentional practices, and as opposed to going, oh, I hope she's really calling everyone. She's probably not. So that's your job, right? That's your job to make that happen. All right, we're ready to go on? All right, Amy is going to chat about how to select a venue. And we talked about this a little bit, but we just wanted to dedicate an entire slide to it because we believe it's so important. So I'm going to bring up the points, and we've covered some of them. There we go. But Amy, could you just talk on this just a little bit more?
Yeah, so definitely when you're picking that key venue, one of the main things you want to look for is, do they have a presence on social media? Do they have a lot of followings? Do they have people that are interested in their restaurant? And even if they don't have that large presence on social media, maybe they have a really loyal following within their community. Mm-hmm. So you want to look for those hot spots like that. Mm-hmm. Don't limit yourself to restaurants. So people love variety. I recently held an event at a Pure Barre studio, and it was a big hit. So, you know, I feel like people that go to different studios to work out, whether it be cycling or a barre class, you almost become this little family when you go there. So it's fun to have something and get together, and you're usually going to have a really good turnout for those type of events. And don't be afraid to go into a restaurant and talk to someone, or go into a venue and talk to someone. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people ignore emails. Sometimes they go to spam. You have to be able to go in there, get your elevator pitch down so that you can pitch them in just 2 or 3 sentences, mm-hmm. and book a meeting, book a time to talk, sit down. And if they can meet with you right then, make sure you're prepared with some dates. Make sure you're prepared with like maybe a theme that you want to do for that restaurant. When I go in, I will always have dates in mind. I always have a theme in mind, and maybe like a catchy title. Mm-hmm. So when they hear that I'm going to do peonies and party dresses for a boutique, they're a lot more excited to jump on board and be like, all right, she knows what she's talking about. She knows what we're going to do to market this event and get people in here.
Yeah.
So yeah,
absolutely. And for sure, the hit the streets, going and knocking on doors, reaching out personally to the venues, having that great energy when you walk in, that confidence of having your shoulders back. And guys, if you're brand new, that's okay. You can fake it till you make it, right? You can use some of Amy's stories. Hey, people love having these, and these are some of the things that we can do. That's why we share all of this, so that you can duplicate it and so that you can use these word choices so it builds your confidence. Because let's face it, If Alice sold $100,000 in tickets in 8 months, we know for a fact that people want to have these events. And for certain, it's just a matter of going out and asking for what you want. So great. And go ahead.
Mary,
Yeah.
one thing is when I went and booked my very first event, I did not tell them it was my first event. I acted like I had hosted 200 events before that. You just fake, and that's what I did. Fake it till you make it. And, you book that first event and then you just go with it. But I did not tell them it was my first event. Right. I went in there pretending I was an expert already.
Yeah, I always joke with people and say, hey, you're not going to confession, you're building a business, right? So you don't have to be like, I've never done this before. But to be honest, you have, because we require a video from every single one of you before you hit the street. So every single one of you have done an event by the time you hit the street. You just maybe it's a little different how you've done it, but you have practiced, and that's what makes it so incredible. Great point, Amy. I love it. So let's talk about this overbooking. One of the key components, and when Amy saw this slide last night when we were rehearsing, she was so cute. She's like, I am so glad you included this. Overbooking is key to your success, and here's some of the reasons why. Oops, sorry. Options matter, right? I mean, if you have 10 events on your calendar, it gives people a lot of different places to choose from, right? And also, it's just a fact of any business. You get 30% of cancellations. My daughter's getting married next year, and I'll give you a really fantastic example. 25% of those people won't show up, right? Thank heavens. But, there's that part of, I know, she was like, I'm inviting 250 people. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, well, he won't show up. She won't show up. I'm like, blessing the no-shows. But I know in business, that's not the right thing to do. But if you overbook, let's say, for example, when you go back to your goals, and you're like, all right, I want to hold 8 events in September. Then you want to book 10, 12 events because you're going to have those cancellations. And it gives you that assurance of hitting that goal.
And then let's just say you were going to host an event and only one person signed up. And then you thought about it and you're like, okay, let's reschedule this event. That person is then going to have the option of either going to that rescheduled date, or maybe you have another event coming up in just a couple of days or the next week that they could just transfer their ticket into that one. So you're not really going to lose that customer. They will just have more options to come to another one of your events.
Absolutely. Great point. All right. Now we're going to talk about how you can fill more seats with your presentation. And guys, this is where I built most of my business, was in front of people. Everything started from one event, and then spun off of that event. From people seeing what I was doing, from people like loving, the product, they're going, wow, this is great, referrals. But we have to really figure out what we're going to say. So you have to be prepared when you present. Just don't walk into it and go, all right, I have my arrangement down. That's all I'm worried about, just my arrangement. That's only one component of your presentation, because the rest of it is there for you to build your future business. These are the 5 steps. If you were on the Facebook Live the other day, you can see me actually go through this entire presentation. But the most important part for today, for this training, for how to get butts in the seats, is number 3, the 3 ways to engage. So when you're at your event, you want to welcome them, thank them for coming, share why you're doing Alice's Table, and then you want to talk to them about the 3 ways that they can benefit, 3 things that they can engage, 3 things that they can do to engage with Alice's Table. And just say, hey, guess what? You can be one of me. You can become an exec, or maybe there's someone that you know, but you can also book your own event. So watch this today. Maybe you have a corporation where you want to do an event, or maybe you want to do, another venue, and you're like, oh my gosh, this venue would be perfect. Or maybe you want to do one in your home with your girlfriends, or your girlfriends and guy friends. Guys come to these things too. So those little statements right during your presentation get them to thinking. But you don't want to stop there. You want to say, and by the way, pull out your phone and drive them to your website where you have your different events linked. And then they can go right on, and you go, and by the way, here are my upcoming events. If you want to book one right now, my seats fill up quick. Go right in. You can book one now for next month, or if you want to wait till the end, I'll go over it again. But let them know when your upcoming events are before you get to the flowers. Here's why. Once you get to the flowers, flower power takes over, and all they do, right? Wonderful and lovely and joyful and perfect. But you have to cover the important points about filling your future seats before you even get to that flower part. Because once you get there, that's what the product is. That's where you dive into the arrangement. That's where you dive. But you have to present out to them who you are, why you're doing this, and also the business building components before you get to the flowers. And then in the close, you want to bring it back around. And I know you guys keep signs, and those are great. Signs are fine, but you want them to pull it up right on their phone, go, hey guys, does everyone pull out your phone? And all of them had their phone laying right on the table beside them, by the way. I can guarantee it.
We were all already posting pictures on Instagram on their story. So something I do, Mary, is
Yeah.
at the beginning, I'll tell people, hey guys, pull out your phone. Are you on Instagram?
Yes.
Follow me, because I'm going to be doing a little Instagram challenge at the end of this event. So that way you already have these people engaged and following you.
Right. And curious, right? People are curious about where they are that night. Oh, cool. What's that? Where was Lisa last night? I was sitting at home in my pajamas again. That's awesome. She was out there doing something, experiencing something, having a beautiful event. Also encourage them to come alone, right? Sometimes people are like, yeah, bring a girlfriend. That's great. But just to say, hey, if you can't bring anyone, don't worry about it. Come alone. You're going to build a tribe of friends just by hanging out. And I love that about Amy's venues, because you could tell, like, everybody was kind of there. They knew each other. Some of them did. Some were mother daughter. Some were like a group of sisters, gift cards. But some of them were just there because they wanted to come again, which was fantastic.
I have a fun story about that too. Is I did an event at a brewery, and this one girl came by herself, and she ended up sitting at a table with two other ladies, the way we had it all set up. They ended up staying at the brewery for 4 hours, just chatting and becoming new friends after the event. Yeah. So it really is something that people can come and do solo, meet new people, and have a great time.
Yeah, I love that. Something else you could do to engage at your events, it's similar to what Amy just shared, is as you're doing the flower arrangement and people are engaged, if they can hear, I know sometimes they're loud, have everybody go around and share what they do. And don't just say, hey guys, everyone just share what you do, because I mean, the other night I had 4 tech girls here who were major, high powered, and they were, one's looking for a job. I mean, before you know it, everyone's supporting 2 real estate agents. Somebody wanted to sell a house. This benefits everyone, and this is really what community is about, is elevating everyone in that room. You don't want that to become your presentation. You want that to be during your flower. Like, hey, while we're doing the roses, you 3 do this. You 3 share. Okay, and then our next flower, you 3 share. And it allows you to actually engage with everyone and come and feel like, oh, that's cool. I got something out of that too. So just fun little idea. Not necessary, but fun. All right, now closing, pretty self-explanatory, right? A bug just literally flew by me in my house. I was like, sorry. I was like, was that a bat? So the last thing you want to do is close. You want to be certain that you are wrapping it up with, hey, remember earlier I shared with you that you can go and you can do these things. I actually have my calendar out right now. So if you're interested in doing an event, come right up here. Let's get your date booked, because our fall arrangements are going to be stunning. Everyone's going to want something for September, October, November, and December on their tables. So come on up and let's get your event booked. See, that active engagement of asking for what you want with saying, let's come up, let's get your date booked, is so much easier than and here, I'm going to just pull these slides up here. Then saying, okay, here, take my phone number, and expecting them to call you. They won't. It's not their job to call you. It's your job to call them. Number one rule in sales, okay? And I know you can say, well, wait, I'm not a salesperson. Okay, well, guess what? You're in a channel, no matter if it's direct sales or not direct sales, even without the direct sales component, where you want to know how to fill the seats. And to fill the seats, you got to reach out to people. So if you don't get them to book that event right there, and they say they want to, then this last little point, then you start chasing them. Then you start calling them and playing phone tag and texting. And then it's like, well, maybe they really don't want to do it. I've reached out to them 4 times. And that's not true, guys. They're just busy. Their baby's sick. Their boss is a pain. Their dog's at the vet. They're fixing dinner. Oh, I see. I know I need to get back with her. So it becomes, and then it starts to like, oh, well, maybe maybe this isn't something that she really wanted to do. Where if you just book right then and there, it'll save you so much time. asking for what you want at those venues is important. That's one of my favorite quotes by Maya Angelou. Amy, what points do you have to share with this one?
So, all right, with this one, you definitely need to lock down when you are at an event. Exactly. You are going to run into chasing people after that. And it doesn't have to be, you guys don't have to fill out that event request form standing right next to them at that event. So don't think you have to do that. You just want to get down the date, you want to get their information, and that's it. And then you can go and do all of the technical stuff after that. But yep, following up right at the event is definitely key. And I like to, if I'm doing something with, a corporation, or if I'm going to a private event person at their house, I usually send a personal thank you note. You definitely always follow up with a thank you. And I like to send a handwritten note sometimes to different corporate events or personal home events because it adds a nice little touch.
Absolutely. Yeah, and knowing what dates you want to book is like having the dates on your calendar when you can do events, right? Like if you do events on Tuesdays and Thursdays and that's when you do events, then just have those dates ready. Okay, well I have a couple Tuesdays and Thursdays available in the month of October. I'd love to get those booked. My September is already booked. Some people I'll do it whenever, but you might not be able to do it whenever.
And make sure you tell them that your calendar books up quickly. Mm-hmm. Even if it doesn't, tell them that it does. Yeah. So that way you're sort of putting a little bit of fire under their butt and picking a date. Mm-hmm. Because if they say, oh, you know what, let me get back to you in a couple of weeks, or, I want to book something in October, but let's touch base at the end of September, that's not going to work. You have to let them know, hey, you know what, I book a whole season ahead. I book 5 weeks out. Let's sit down and get something together right now.
Absolutely. And that top of the tree, and I don't know if you remember me talking about this in other trainings, but we always first want to ask, hey, are you interested in being an exec? And then, are you interested in holding an event? And then, are you interested in attending an event? 9 times out of 10, people won't say no to all three, right? They'll say, being exec, that's not for me. But yeah, sure, I would love to host one, or I'd love to, support you getting into a venue. Or they'll say, oh my gosh, I'll just totally come to another one. And that's why I call it top of the tree, because you're falling down into the different engagements as opposed to, if they say no to never attending an event again, then you're never going to ask them to become an exec, right? And you might be thinking, oh my gosh, well, if they never want to attend an event again, then why would they ever be an exec? Because some people are actually looking for a business, not just another girls' night out. Some people are actually looking for something beyond another, but if they thought, oh, I can actually make money at this, they might consider it. All right, Amy.
I've signed people up sitting next to them at a bar and just pulled up the event on my cell phone and handed it to them. And they bought a ticket right then and there. So I never, ever, ever stop talking about Alice's Table. I feel like I live and breathe it. And I just talk about it all the time. And one of my favorite tips is always having a business card on you all the time. Even if I don't have my purse with me, I slip a few business cards in the back of my pocket, because you never know who you're going to run into and what conversation you're going to get into. And then you have your information right there available.
Mm-hmm. Another great tip with that is connecting on social media right away. Just saying, hey, let's find each other on Facebook or Insta or LinkedIn. Actually, I've done great connections on LinkedIn, but there's different ways to connect with people, which you can do right then and there. All right, so finally, let's talk about how your guests can tell your story. Referrals are part of the game. If you're looking for a dentist, if you're looking for a vet, if you're looking for something out there, you're going to go to a girlfriend or a lot of times even Facebook groups now, like, the neighborhood Facebook group, and you'll be like, hey, I need a good plumber who knows somebody. So it's really a powerful tool for you to allow your guests to tell the story. So Amy, how do you do this at your events?
So the biggest way I get people to interact and use word of mouth is I do an Instagram challenge. Mm-hmm. And I have people follow me, and then I ask them to post a picture from that night. And I say, you know, it can be during the event. It could be when you go home and your cat Fluffy is curled up next to your arrangement. I'm looking for something creative. I'm looking for something fun. Post the picture, hashtag Alice's Table, tag me in it. And then, you know, you might have a prize for it. So you might say, I'm going to pick my favorite photo of the night, and that person might win a discount for an upcoming event. Or, you know, if you're feeling super generous that night, maybe they win a free ticket to one of your upcoming events. And I like doing free tickets sometimes because it's very rare that someone's going to show up just by themselves. So if you do a giveaway and you do something like a free ticket, then they're most likely going to bring a friend. And then you've almost gotten that back.
That's a great point. I hadn't even thought of that, but that's a great point. Share your next events, have your calendar out, post your pictures, and then obviously the most powerful thing that you can do is getting your guests to talk. You know, there's different levels of engagement, but for you to go live at your event, or if you just want to make little videos of them, just, hey, I just need 30 seconds on why you had so much fun tonight. And then that way you could like post one a day, right? If you have 10 guests there and they each, and some people might not want to do it, and that's okay, but you'll get some people who will feel like a rock star and they'll be all in. And don't think this shy person in the room doesn't want to do it. Ask everyone. And that shy person will actually connect with people that super outgoing person won't. Like she might say something like, you know, I've never done anything like this before. I didn't know what to expect, and I had a great time. Or I had a friend here the other night, and I actually videoed it. I went live. I think this is on Alice's Table. You can go watch me going around the room and talking to everyone about why they loved it. But on Alice's Table Facebook group is what I meant to say. But she said, you know, I'm not creative. I didn't think I could do this. And look at what I did. And she was so proud of her arrangement. That is a great way to fill the seats, because that's marketing. That's allowing you to get that out on social media and for people to see what you're doing. And I'm going to give you this other tip, guys. You got to get out of your pages, okay? I don't go to people's business pages. I don't have any interest in going to people's business pages. They also don't show up on my news feed on Facebook. You got to get on your personal Facebook page with your name. That's right, Mary Hoff, right? You got to get out there so that people will see you, as opposed to thinking, well, it's on my business page. My business is over here. No one sees it over there. It's something, the only people that see it over there are the people who've already been there. But even at that, they're not going to it. I buy stuff from a Pampered Chef lady. Of course, she invited me to her page. I never go there. I never see anything she does. So get out, get public, and market to the public. Share your events on your page, on your personal pages, so that people know that you're there. It's not going to help you build your brand if no one can see what you're sharing and the people who are saying they love you.
So word of mouth is so important, especially for us because we are these small business owners. So word of mouth is so important when you don't have a ton of money to spend on marketing. And something I actually used to do, and I still do it, is I would find that busybody, so that knows everyone. And maybe I offered her a complimentary ticket to one of my events, and I said, hey, do you think you could get 4 other girlfriends together and I can offer you this complimentary ticket? Or you just know that person is going to go out and spread the word because they talk to everybody. They know everybody. Yeah. Mary, this isn't actually something that me and you talked about, but that came to mind that I like to do to help promote an event is work with bloggers. So if you can work with people that are influencers or bloggers, and Alice's Table actually will provide a ticket for that person. You just need to run it by and have it approved, but they will provide a ticket for that person. And I always exchange it for promotion. So I say, hey, you know what? I want to extend a complimentary ticket for you if you could help me promote this event. And then they get the word out there to all of their followers because they have such a huge outreach, and that can really help put butts in the seats for your event too.
Absolutely. Great point.
Yep.
All right. And then finally, you've probably heard this, the fortune is in the follow-up, right? No matter if you bump into someone at Target, no matter if it's a friend who said, oh my gosh, I see what you're doing, I will totally host an event for you. You have your list, but you need to follow up with them within 24 hours. If a friend says to you, hey, I think this is a really great idea, I might want to do this, call them. Don't wait for them to call you. That's not their job. That's your job, okay? You're not bothering them. You're following up. You're being a responsible business owner. Same thing with your event. If they don't book that night, they're like, oh, I got to go check my work calendar. I don't have it with me. Whatever they say, just follow up and know what to say when you follow up. I had a great time with you last night. You were so much fun. Or I thought of you this morning and how excited you were about your arrangement, right? Be intentional about what you know about that person and what you remember about them. I used to make notes sometimes. Like I would just turn around. I had a pad of paper with me. I actually keep these notebooks everywhere in my world. I have these notebooks, and they're all different colors. But after events, I would actually like sit down and I would write down Lisa's
Notebooks everywhere.
Linda, super quiet, but really loved it. That way I knew when I was following up with them. And guys, if I didn't have anything booked, I called every single person. And yes, you need to collect their information, their telephone numbers, their email addresses. You have to collect that information so you have the follow-up work to do. And you can call them up and say, hey, I had a great time with you last night. Hope you're loving your arrangement. I'm calling to follow up with you. Even if they didn't say they were interested, if they didn't say anything at all, I would love to know if you know anyone who would love to do this, or I'd also love to know if you'd love to host an event. Let's chat. Right? Those are the type of things that you can do to build your business. Those are very warm leads, if not hot leads. They just spent an evening with you. They know what you're doing. So you have to reach out to them to book your future events and to get people. And by the way, I have these 4 events coming up. I want to be certain that you get someplace. They're a month away, so you're going to need another arrangement in a month from now. And ask as you close, right? Asking is the key to success. You can't get it if you don't ask for it. All right, Ms.
And make sure you're following up too. So if you had someone that hosted a private event, email that person, the next season and say, hey, we have this awesome new collection coming out. I know you hosted an event last season. I would love to come back and show you what we have now and book another event with them.
Absolutely.
Whether it be like a wreath event or whatever you're going to be doing. And they're going to be happy to host their friends again because their friends had such a fabulous time at your event and they all come back for another girls' night in.
Absolutely. And always be prepared with next steps, right? What are the next steps? What if they say, well, actually I have a couple friends of mine that are curious about doing this business. Great. I would love to have their phone numbers and I'll reach out to them, right? Be ready for that. Don't say, hey, all right, well, have them give me a call. No, that's your next step is to ask for their information so that you can actually engage with them. So we just covered the 5 steps to success when it comes to getting butts in the seats. And guys, probably the thing that I would fall back on the most is making your list, being sure that you know who you're reaching out to, exhausting the getting personal. And I actually created, it's a little small, I hope you can see it, an event checklist. But actually we're gonna make this a PDF for you so you can print this off. But the really fun thing about it, I know it's really hard to see, and I can't make it bigger here, but I'll read it to you. All right, I have to lean in. First of all, get organized. Set a date and choose a location for your events, right? You gotta, if you wanna get butts in the seats, you gotta have seats to fill. Get motivated. Determine your goals and the number of attendees and how many mentor conversations you wanna have at each event. Get creative. Create an invitation list. Include your friends, your family, past guests. More is more. So Frank is a little thing that you can use to actually create this list. It stands for friends, relatives, acquaintances, neighbors, and then the K stands for kids. And if you don't have any kids, you could just be anyone else that you know. But it helps you go, all right, who am I reaching out to? And then get social. Set up your event on Facebook and invite as many people as possible. That's what's so great about social media is that the power of reaching out, following up is right there. At 9 o'clock when you're hanging out on the couch with your hubby, you can be going through like checking your invitation, seeing who looked at it, and reaching out to them because everybody else is probably sitting on their couch too. Get personal. You can send out personal invitations for sure. Let's say you're hosting your launch event. I always suggest this with your launch event. Sending out a personal handwritten invitation will get their attention because they'll be like, oh my gosh, she just invited me to this amazing event at her house, and including the link for them to register. That's very powerful. And also picking up the phone, letting them hear the voice, doing voice text. There's so many different ways that we can invite right now. Doing a direct message, you name it. There's just a million different ways you can reach out to people. Even if you don't know them, you just see them as, oh wow, I thought you would like this because I see how creative you are. I see you're always gardening. This might be something that you're really into. And then get real. I love getting real, because a lot of times people, like, I talk sometimes about, the grow, and people come to me and they're like, I can't get my business going. I'm like, well, pull out your grow with me. Like, I didn't do it. I'm like, well, we got to do the work of what are our options and what are you willing to do before they don't work. Because if you've tried all 4 of your options and you've gone into your what's next list and you're still not building your business, then we'll have a conversation about what we can do different. But we really got to get into all these great tips that Amy's giving you today to know if it's going to work. Get polished, practice your presentation. Those things aren't just going to come natural when you first do it. And saying, hey, here's the 3 ways to engage, and practicing it. I've said it a couple times. You can write it down, you can put it into your own words, but practicing it will absolutely allow you to feel like, okay, I'm feeling pretty confident about what I can say.
Absolutely. I think I could probably say mine in my sleep at this point. I probably do. I probably sleep talk it in my sleep, my presentation that I do.
You're so good, oh Amy. You're so good whenever I'm there. I mean, you also make jokes. You're funny. You engage with people. You have good stories too. And the storytelling part of what you do at your events is really fantastic and very, very special. That high level of connection, getting in touch, and then of course get paid, right? The biggest reason that we see that your events, like, yeah, you can have events with 5 people, but we know that the more people that you have at your events, the more successful that you're going to feel. And so therefore getting paid means that you are running through this process. You're like, all right, I'm going to dig in and really get these butts in the seats, and then get to work by following up. So that's the cool checklist that you can use. And sometimes it's just nice to have something in front of you so that you're like reminding yourself of all these different things that Amy and I talked about today. Amy, in closing, is there anything that you can think of that you're like, if I could share a few things that I feel like everyone needs to know to grow their events, or a few things that you would like to share?
Sure. So we hit upon a lot of really great things. Finding that partnership, finding that venue is going to do a partnership with you, making sure you're hitting those like best of lists and finding that cool hot spot that people want to go to. But something, that we didn't mention that is really important is when you are creating your event request, be mindful of what title you're going to use and be mindful of your description. So just like people sort of like eat with their eyes at a restaurant and you see what looks good or what is described as sounding really delicious on the menu, people do the same thing with your events. They're scrolling through that page and they want to see a catchy title and, something fun in the description, and that's what's going to catch them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I am a marketing sponge. If something sounds fun and yummy, then I'm going to be like, oh, that sounds great. I saw one the other day that was like, I don't know, pumpkin something and Pinot. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool.
Yep.
I think there's just something, and also partnering with the venue. I think if there's something fun with the venue that you can partner with that brings attention to them, meaning that people are like, oh, that's right, that's that place that does X. It's
right.
Really fun as well. I love going onto our website and looking at all the cool names that you all are creating. They're just great. And if that's not your thing, if you're like, ugh, I'm not a marketing person, I could never have created OPI nail colors, whatever, then reach out to someone. Reach out to Michelle, reach out to me, reach out on the Facebook group. Say, hey, I have an event coming up. I'm having a hard time coming up with a name. We have a really fantastic support group that would love that. And if you do have good names for your events, share them. Let people know what you're doing, because it really does help everyone grow when we share those marketing tools. So in conclusion today, I just want to thank you, Amy. It's so much more fun. having you on and doing a training with a friend than just talking for 30 minutes. And I know it's also great for everyone in the company that you shared what's the key to your success when all these venues are clearly loving having you there. It's just been really fun, and your guests also are loving your event. So today, guys, we just want to wrap up and say thanks for being on, no matter if you're listening to it live or on playback. We just love every second of it. Amy, do you have anything you want to share before we go?
Just rock it, ladies.
Yeah.
Do a great job, rock it. I am cheering you on, so if you ever have a question, give me a shout on Facebook, and I will try my best to answer it. So, but I'm really looking forward to the holiday season. I'm really looking forward to that time of year that's going to be really busy, and I hope you guys are ready to get some butts in the seats for those events.
Absolutely. Our next training will be next Thursday at noon, same time. However, don't forget, next Wednesday, we're going to be going live with Alice on the Facebook Live group, and you all have access to it. It's Alice's Table, a growing opportunity. It's linked with our regular Facebook group. Add anyone to it that you think might want to take a look at the business. Anyone you're like, hey, I thought of you, I'm adding you to this group, so they can go on that. It's going to be at 3 p.m. next Wednesday afternoon is when the event will go live. Oh, I don't know where Amy went. And you all can absolutely hop on and share it with your friends, and we want to grow your team with you. All right, everyone, have a good one. I'm going to stop the recording in just a sec.